Joining us now, analyst for the NBA on TNT, Reggie Miller. Reggie, where did you watch Super Bowl 48?
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming to carry. Oh, I thought this was the anthem for the Broncos. I'm sorry. What was the new question there, Michael?
Reggie, where'd you watch the game, buddy?
I was next door at my neighbor's Ryan Braun's house, had a few friends over as we gathered to watch my Broncos take on the Seahawks.
How painful?
It was tough. I will say this. I know you guys have the poll question about would you rather be blown out or lose a close game. Absolutely, being in a situation like that, I would much rather have been blown out than lose a close game, because if you lose a close game, there are about 10 times during that game where you feel absolutely you're in control of that game. Last night, from the first snap, the Broncos were absolutely in zero control of that game. It looked like that for 2 weeks, one team prepared for the Super Bowl while the other team was just happy, exhaled, just showed up. And that's not to dismiss what the Broncos and Bronco Nation and fans and what Peyton, we all know, you and I both know, Michael, how much Peyton over-prepares for teams. I'm just talking about being a fan from the outside looking in. It looked like one team was prepared while the other team just showed up.
Reggie, Peyton Manning took issue with the question of whether or not he was embarrassed by the outcome. He said it's insulting to call it an embarrassment. What do you call an outcome like that, though, if it's not an embarrassment?
I wouldn't say embarrassment. I would probably say sad. I was saddened by it because I am the biggest Peyton Manning fan, and I, all season long, wanted him to get another ring, because you look at when we talk about statures of quarterbacks, and I hate to compare eras and quarterbacks very much the same way we do in the NBA, but Peyton is considered, in my opinion, one of the greatest quarterbacks, and the only thing that's really missing on his resumes is the jewelry, which I don't like to define players as jewelry, having been a player that's never won a ring. But having said that, I know that means so much to him. And that's why I was pulling so much to him. So I wouldn't say it was an embarrassment. From my standpoint, I was saddened. I was sad by a 43-8 Super Bowl on the biggest stage with the most casualest fans watching that game. That's all they're going to remember about him. They're not going to remember the great times in Indiana or Indianapolis and so forth and the other ring he got. They're going to remember that 43-8 unless he gets back there again and wins one.
He's Reggie Miller of the NBA on TNT. Now, as a star player, when you're in a situation like that and it's not going the way you want, what do you do to try to get your teammates pointed in the right direction?
I don't know if there was anything. Instead of us saying what could the Broncos have done, I think we really need to give more praise to Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks, because whatever the offense would have done for the Broncos, it was answered. It was almost like they were in their playbook, the Seahawks. Whatever the defense of the Broncos was going to do, Russell Wilson was 2 or 3 steps ahead of whatever the Broncos defense were going to do. Special teams was a joke for Denver. So I'm not quite sure there's anything Denver could have done. I mean, that was one of the biggest cans of whoop-ass I've ever seen in a Super Bowl game.
What's the closest thing that the NBA can offer to a Russell Wilson? What guy there reminds you that doesn't fit the mold, that goes against the odds, that wasn't supposed to succeed,
I would say Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was 6 feet, 6'1" maybe, but he had the heart of a lion and the heart of a champion. Size really didn't matter. He was cat quick, a lot like Russell Wilson. Very engaging with his teammates. If we remember the Bad Boys, he really egged them on a lot of those antics that they did. Well, the ringleader was Isaiah Thomas, and people wanted to talk about his size being in the back in those days. The Central Division was known as the Black and Blue Division, and it was the toughest division, probably still is today, in basketball. And for Detroit Pistons, he was the number one aficionado on that team. And I compare those two players because of what they both smile and they look good. You know, Russell Wilson, Isaiah, but behind closed doors, I guarantee you Russell Wilson is a stone-cold killer. And that came out on the biggest stage yesterday.
What's the biggest wager that you heard about for the game last night? Biggest dollar amount?
I didn't. I mean, we had little small bets about who was going to win the game.
Define small.
$20. Yeah. Like, we had, you know, the opera singer, was she going to go over, 2 minutes and 25 seconds? I took the over. She was under. Like small little bets like that. Marshawn Lynch, 96-plus yards. Russell Wilson, would he get over 210 yards? I did win that one. Would Peyton get over 290? I took the under. I won that one. So small bets like that.
Who was
$10, $20.
Most famous person at the party you were at?
Ryan Braun.
There you go. The host always has to be the most famous. If you're famous, you can't.
Absolutely. If you're going to host any type of party, you've got to be the number one attraction at that party.
And speaking of parties, there was a DirecTV party on Saturday night. Jay-Z played. Beyonce made a cameo, and a couple of guys in this room left early.
What?
Before Beyonce showed up.
Wait, did they not know that Jay-Z was taking the stage and Beyonce was making an appearance, or they had to just get home? Because if they left with the number one couple in the entertainment industry getting ready to perform, they need to get their man card taken away. I want names, Michael.
We got names. Front row and back row. I'll let you guess. Front row guys or back row guys?
I would go with Seaton and McLovin. Those would be my guesses. Those would be my guesses.
Let me tell you something, okay? I have never been more insulted in my entire life.
Yeah, you were half right, though. We could have done a little prop bet on that. McLovin and Fritzy exited early. They did not know Beyonce was going to be there, but, a little application of common sense should have drawn to the conclusion of a I know last year when it was Timberlake, we all assumed that Jay-Z was going to show up. You should have assumed that Beyonce was going to be there. Right?
Not quite sure there'll ever be another Super Bowl in New York City. You've got to stay until they bring the brooms out to start cleaning up. Seriously, the Super Bowl is in New York City. You stay until the lights come on. Until the ugly lights come on, you stay.
Fritzy?
Yeah, we left the tent, my lovely wife and I, I'd say about 12:40 a.m. and probably 12:43 a.m. Beyonce showed up.
The missus was hitting you in the side, honey, I'm tired. Let's talk. No. Hey, you get your man card taken away for, let's say, a couple days, okay?
Hey,
come on now.
Reggie,
Jay-Z, Queen B, you going to leave? Come on, guys.
There hasn't been a Super Bowl in L.A. for a long time. First, they got to get a team back there. You think that L.A. could support an NFL team?
Absolutely. I think it's only a matter of time. I think former Denver Nuggets owner Stan Kroenke, I think he's buying a whole lot of acres somewhere, I saw in the news, in possibility of bringing the Rams here. I mean, I know that's all talk and conjecture at this point, but I think not only could they support one team, they could probably support two teams here.
If Kroenke was selling off slivers of that team, would you be interested?
I would. Heck yeah. The NFL? I mean, that's a multi-billion-dollar business. And then I would have Jay-Z and Queen B perform at the opening of the first game and have my Danettes there and make sure they don't leave.
Log them up. All right, Reggie. Great stuff, buddy. Great talking to you.
Michael Florio, you're the best, my Danettes. Who cares about that other guy in Sochi? If Mama Bear doesn't want to be with his Cubs, we're going to have other people sub in and do the job.
Oh, great stuff. That's Reggie Miller, NBA on TNT.